welcome to another episode of Nasty Addiction Garage. So today we're going to jump into part 2 of the front end reassembly. We have a lot of things to do with this front end reassembly. We still have to put the radiator, we have to do the plumbing, we have to do a lot of stuff still. But this is going to be part 2. We're going to try to get as much done as possible as we have a lot to do moving forward on this front end. I'm going to try to go by sections as far as the videos go. So I'm going to try to make them all in series, and then, you know, the single parts that aren't going to be part of a series, I'll have those episodes singular instead of being in a group of videos. But guys, let's jump into today's video. I want to jump into what I'm going to be doing to this front end today. I'm going to be putting the master brake cylinder. I'm also going to be putting the clutch, I guess, master cylinder, whatever you want to call it, the clutch reservoir or that thing. I'm going to make sure that everything looks really nice. I'm going to try to line up the harness and make sure that the harness is against the firewall where it's supposed to. I did get some titanium bolts in, so hopefully we can do all that today. So guys, let's jump into today's episode and let's go. Alright, in case you guys didn't know or didn't see the last episode, stop here and go back to the last episode that I did let out. It is a part 1 to this series of the front end reassembly, just so then you guys can kind of know what I did prior to. The tag or the link would be right up here, guys. So make sure you guys check that out. But jumping into today's episode, this is going to be part 2, like I said earlier. What I have already done was rewrap the frunk harness. What I did was use this this electrical cloth tape. I kind of like the way this is. This kind of keeps everything nice and tight, and it looks really nice too. As you guys seen, I did all these. All this is all done. Like I said, I didn't tag everything, but some of the stuff I tagged just so then I know where it goes. This here says tweeter. I think tweeter. Oh no, this is the passenger side speaker. So, you know, just it kind of lets me know where things go for the most part. We'll figure out the rest from there. But today's episode, I really do want to make sure I tack this firewall or tack this harness to the firewall and get things kind of moving and situated where they need to go. Moving on to the other parts that I did get. The master brake cylinder, this one is from a 4Runner. Thanks Bob Pham for the tips on that. I'm going to try this out and hopefully it does good for the V6. Also, I got the clutch slave cylinder, or not slave cylinder, but clutch master brake or master cylinder. Master, I guess you want to call it. These are the old ones. We also have the cover to the steering rack, and then we also have the brake booster. So what we're going to do here, we're going to refinish this brake booster. I'm going to refinish this as well. With what I'm going to refinish it is with this Rust-Oleum flat gray primer, and then we're going to be using the SEM, SEM, trim black paint. I like the way this comes out. This got many good reviews when I looked it up. It is 39143. That's the bottle, or that's the can that I will be using. Again, it is 39143. It is a SEM paint. It's supposed to be like a OEM flat black, kind of something like similar to this top. But that's what I'm going to be using for this here. I'm thinking about doing these as well, just so then everything looks pretty uniform. I'm going to be doing this as well. I'm going to try to get this off as much as I can and get it as nice and smooth before I start spraying the primer. I got something set up back here in my carport just so then I could paint a little bit. Here we go. This is just something that I made so then it's easier for me to spray, and it would be in direct sun because the sun comes up from this side. So at this point, what we're going to be doing is, I think I want to spray these parts first so then I can give them time to dry. But what I do want to do is make sure I take off the reservoirs just so then I don't spray them up, and I can tape everything up well, and then I can kind of just scuff everything. I got some green scuffing pads here and a red scuffing pad here just to kind of scuff things up. I'll primer it. That goes for this, and this, along with this as well. And then I will be spraying that black trim paint. And I think the black trim paint is going to actually look really nice on a glossy surface. It'll look really nice in OEM, so I'm hoping this comes out really nice. I do want to install these before I start messing with the wire harness and trying to lay it out. just because it's going to be hard to try to fit the wire harness over things. I don't want things to get scratched. I want it to look really nice. So guys, let's jump into this video and let's get working on these parts here, just so then I can tape these up and get these sprayed. So guys, let's go. Alright guys, so what I did was I removed basically the vacuum plug here. This is just removed and separated. I don't think I'm going to paint this. I don't want anything to go wrong with it on the inside, so I'm not even going to worry about it. I might just clean it up and put it back just like that. This rubber grommet that goes right here actually looks in pretty good condition, so I'm going to keep that. I'm just going to clean it up, obviously, probably oil it up a little bit and just put it back in there. This was proving to be difficult to remove this pin, so I don't want to really remove this all the way then, if that's going to be that difficult. I'm going to do my best to try to tape the canister. This already has a plug here. I'm going to try to tape the rubber gasket here. I'm going to try to tape right behind it, so hopefully I can get everything painted up on this end here. This one came off really quickly. This is just basically one screw. These already have plugs on them. I'm going to cover back here, and I'm going to cover up here as well with some tape, and we're going to get to sanding these. We're going to move these to the carport to sand them. I don't want any dust or anything to get on the MR2 as of right now, so we're going to go scuff these up and then tape them up and get to spraying some primer and doing all that fun stuff, but we're going to do it the right way. I do have some acetone, or I think it's, yeah, some acetone that I will be using as well. Sorry, the train is going off. But I'm going to be using some acetone as well to go ahead and get these parts clean and get them ready and prepped to spray some spray on them, some color. Like I said earlier, we're going to be using this Rust-Oleum flat primer, and then we're going to be using this SEM trim black spray. So this comes out really good. Wait until you guys see it. You guys are going to really like it. This is a really good product. Got it off Amazon. I'll have the links down below in case you guys wanted to get some. I do have affiliate accounts, so guys, please use the links that I do provide, just because they do help me out. Let's get these taped up. I'm gonna take these back there. We're gonna sand them down first. I'm going to tape this up quickly and tape this up, just so then when I sand everything else, everything will be nice and smooth. I'm gonna try to get all this rust or surface rust off, just to make sure that everything adheres relatively well. So guys, let's jump into this and let's go. To kind of stop the time lapse and kind of show you guys where we're at with this, so all I did here was tape up the nipple. I did tape up the holes here, that I don't want none of this to get clogged up if I start sanding and stuff like that. Same thing for this and this here. So these are taped up, and I know I should have sanded things before taping them and cleaning them, but I really don't want junk to get inside those parts, so I'm not going to take a chance, and if I have to retape it, I'll retape it, but I don't want anything to fall in there. But right now what I'm going to do is start to sand this, or scuff this rather, not full sand. I'm just going to red pad scuff it, and then I'm going to green pad scuff it, just to kind of smooth it out a little bit. But from there, then we're going to go on with some acetone, clean it up, spray some primer, get these parts going nice and smooth. But as you guys can see, I did take off the plastic here, or this caution label, so I'm going to remove that. I removed it. I'm going to paint this all black, and hopefully I could find another one of these and put that on there. If not, no big deal, but it'll be nice and clean at least. And let's go, guys. Let's get this project finished. Let's go. Alright folks, as you guys can see, I did scuff everything down with the red scuffing 3M pad, just to smooth everything out if there was any defects or any bumps or lumps that I needed to sand down, and I did. So there was a lot of things, like a little nicks and things like this that you guys can see, that were just kind of protruding out of the out of the cast itself as just imperfections in the cast, so I sanded them down. It's still kind of a rough surface, but it at least is now smooth. I did that same thing here with the I don't know what you want to call this, the rack and pinion cover, I guess. I did smooth this out. This does have plastic particles though, as you guys can probably see. I'm moving them around here, as you guys can see that. So I gotta clean all these parts prior to doing anything to them. The booster, well, the brake booster came out pretty good. This looks really nice. It's nice and smooth. I did have some rust around the bolt edges, or the bolt bases, which is pretty common, but I got the most of the rust off. I am going to primer this, and then I am going to paint it. So guys, all 4 parts are done, so let's get done with this section and let's paint some primer on these guys. Alright, so what I did was just kind of wipe down these items here that I'm going to be painting. I just wiped them down with a wet rag just to get all the dust and particles off them. I do not want to put them underwater or anything like that, so I just want to kind of clean them, rinse them a little bit with a wet rag. Now I'm going to go and wipe them down with some acetone. The acetone is going to remove any grease or any other particles or debris that is going to be in the way from my primer. And then at that point, after the primer, I'm going to do a little scuffing with the green pad, and then I'm going to wipe them down again with some acetone, and then we're going to go straight for the tack cloth. Actually, after the tack cloth, then we're going to go straight for the trim paint and paint all this stuff up, guys. So let's jump into this. Let's finish this so then we can go ahead and move forward and install them here. I did use the tack cloth already. I did wipe them down. This one still had a little bit of shmoo from the that tacky stuff that they put under here just to keep that little plate or that cover still, along with the bolts. But I cleaned that all up. That's all nice and cleaned up now, but we had a little bump with that. But now everything is cleaned again, and everything has been tack cloth. I got everything kind of set up in the position that I want it to be, so then I can paint. So what I'm going to do real quick is I'm going to actually use the primer here, this Rust-Oleum Painter's Touch primer. I've used this before. I've had really good luck with it as well. It does really good bondage to plastic and metal. So I'm going to do that first. I'm going to give them both 2 coats of primer, just because they do have some scuffing little marks in them, and I want it as flat as possible. So I'm going to do 1 hit of primer, and then I'm going to do another hit of primer once that dries, around 5 minutes or so. I'm going to put you guys here on the camera stand just so you guys can see everything up close to see how everything dries. The sun is starting to come up now, so hopefully things start to dry relatively quickly. But let's try to get this done before the sun comes and it starts drying it earlier than what we want it to. So guys, let's jump into it and let's go. Alright guys, I did spray the first coat of primer on here, and let's see how it's settling. It's not settling the best now that I really look at it. I don't know if it's the primer or what, but I'm hoping that it dries at least flat, but we'll see how that goes after this. I'm going to let this dry really quickly. Well then, in the meantime, while that's drying, I am going to come inside and try to get this harness all situated in this engine bay, at least so we can bolt it starting from up top and go. So with that said, we're going to try to do this as best as possible. I'm going to try to get some more towels or something, try to get them from there and try to line the front up, so then we can go ahead forward and try to bolt this all up, guys. So let's check on this one more time, and then we will move on to the front. So let's check this out real quick. Doesn't look too bad now that I look at it as it's drying. It is just primer, guys, so I can layer this up at least once or twice. I just want this part here to dry a little bit. I don't know what just happened there, but I'm gonna let that dry and reevaluate that situation. once it's dry, but everything is starting to dry pretty flat, so we're gonna give that some time, guys. So let's move on to the MR2. So let's go. All right, now moving on to this part of the project of this green MR2, what I want to do is remove the harness, the front harness from the inside of the car and start moving it onto the outside. I want to start posting it and actually placing the bolts, bolting it all up where it all belongs. I did pick up some more titanium bolts. I got some M6 by, I believe, 15 millimeters in black. I also got M6 by 12 millimeters in black as well, and I got some M8 with a 1.25 millimeter pitch, which is going to go for the brake masters and the brake master and the clutch master as well. This is the actual master brake reservoir from the 94, 95 4Runner. So that's going to be what we're going to use as far as our braking reservoir. Also, so let's just jump into this, guys. Let's get this going and move this along, just because I really want to put this harness in, just because it's been sitting there. I've already completed the majority of all of it as far as rewrapping it, so it does look pretty good. I just want to make sure that everything goes in the spot where it belongs. There's going to be so many different things that I don't know where they're going to go, but we're going to figure it out, guys. So let's jump into this and let's go. All right, guys, I just kind of did an oopsie just because what I just found out here, like in the process of putting this together, as you guys see right here, there's a little latch that sits right there that locks this part of the harness in. So before I even lock that in, I'm going to remove that bolt, and that bolt once again and leave it off, just because we have to put the clutch master on there, and it's going to prove to be hard trying to do it that way. So what I'm going to want to do is put that first along with the brake booster and the brake master, just because I don't want to struggle and scratch stuff up in there. So I'm going to just remove this section of this harness. I'm going to leave it all in here, but I am going to go check on the parts that we did primer already, just so then we can see if we can paint those and then come in here and get this all started and situated, guys. So let's go check it out and let's go. All right, now that I look at these are all ready for a real quick, I was gonna scuff them with the green scuffing pad, but they seem to be super smooth. As you guys can see here, they're relatively smooth. I don't think I'm gonna go ahead and scratch them up with that green scuff pad, and I'm just gonna go ahead and spray the first coat of the trim paint. So let's hope that this comes out good, guys. This is the trim paint that I'm going to be using. Let's just hope that this comes out nice, flat, the way we want it to be. I want it to dry really nice and set really nice, at least, just so then I don't have to worry about any fingerprints or smudges or anything like I had to do with the brake booster thing here, just because right here, as you guys can see, I did get some smudges here, and then I tried to wet it and try to smooth it out, and that was my fault, just because it then created some bubbles, and as you guys can see that it's still wet. So what I'm gonna have to do there is I'm gonna let the sun hit it and dry it out a little bit, and then I'm going to sand that section, reapply another coat of primer, and go ahead and do that. But in the meantime, I'm gonna go forward and start painting these with that trim paint, just because I'm really curious to see how this looks and see how it goes, guys. So let's jump into this and let's get that trim paint on this part. So let's go. Alright, guys, I have given the first coat of this trim paint on these parts, and they are coming out phenomenal. As you guys can see, they are super flat and got that good textured black, which I'm a big fan of. It's not necessarily textured, but it has that OEM, almost like like trim. Like I mean, it's exactly what it is. It's trim paint. There are still some spots that are not fully covered, obviously, because that was just coat number 1. I do want everything to go on nice and smooth, so I do have to do it correctly. So guys, check this out. This is the first coat. We're gonna go ahead and move forward and apply the second coat of this SEM black trim paint. Remember, it is bottle or can 39143. This is the one that I'm using on this, so I'm going to go ahead and give it a second coat, and then we're going to come back and probably check on the brake booster where the master brake sits, just because we do have to scuff that just a little bit, or maybe add some more primer to flatten it out. I don't know just yet. I'm going to check it out. We're going to go check it out right after we spray the second coat, so let's go. Alright guys, so what I did off camera was I did do some sanding with the red scuff pad, just so then we can make this nice and flat again, because there was just some, I don't know, it like bubbled up a little bit just in that section, but as you can see, everything else looks nice and good. So I did sand that part. Hopefully the primer covers off that little section there that looks a little jagged. It feels a little smoother than what it looks, but I'm gonna spray on there and see how that goes. I'm gonna let that sit for a little bit. But moving on to the second coat, this is post the second coat, and it looks phenomenal, guys. As you guys can see, look at the sheen that it has. It has a perfect OEM finish. This trim black paint from SEM works phenomenal, guys. Check it out. This is plastic. This is on a I think a casted part, and this is also another casted part, but it looks phenomenal. As you guys can see, I am totally okay with how those look. I'm just really wanting to focus on this, just because this is a big piece. This is something that is going to be noticed, and I know it's just a brake booster. It is just the placement of where your brake reservoir goes and so forth, but this is something that really makes my OCD kind of go crazy, so I really want to make sure I get this done and I get it done correctly, guys. So let's jump into it and let's get this done. It's just been sprayed its second coat of primer. It did cover up the most of that section there, not all of it, but it did cover up the majority of it. So once I hit it with this trim paint, I'm sure that it'll cover the rest of it, so I'm not too worried about it, but it looks phenomenal. Look at how nice this looks as it's drying. It's already starting to become nice and flat. So guys, let's move on to these parts. Let's make sure that these parts look good and they are dry. Let's touch. They seem pretty dry, but I'm going to give them a little bit more time. I was kind of debating if I should give them a third coat. A lot of these parts don't look like they might need it, but I think I'm just going to go over them just one more time. A real light coat, because I did a light coat initially. Second coat was a little heavier, and then the third coat's going to be super light, just kind of like a skim coat to go over those parts. These parts are not going to be used very much, like as far as abuse goes. Like, they're not going to get very much sun. They'll probably get wet every so often, every time I clean them, so I'm not too worried about them, but I just want to make sure that they are protected. So I'm going to give them one more coat, and we'll go from there. So let's go. So now with the other additional coat of primer nice and dry, we did check these out. We did have to touch up some of these guys. We did do a couple touches on the front aspect of this. So basically just down here, just because at the angle that I had them at, I was not getting the proper spray angle. So everything now should be covered relatively nicely. Now moving on to the booster, the brake booster. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to move it to the side. I'm going to try to spray it relatively one coat at a time, relatively slow in the beginning, just to get coverage, and then I'm going to go ahead with a second coat. The second coat is going to be a little heavier, and obviously I'm going to try to apply that a little bit more evenly. And then the third coat, I'm going to do like them with these parts. I'm going to go ahead and do a light coat over that. So guys, let's jump into this and let's go. All right, guys, so I did spray the first coat, and unfortunately you can see that little nasty scuff patch that I had here. It's kind of annoying me, but I'm not going to get too in detail with that. This is just a brake booster that's going to go inside the frunk of the MR2. I'm not too worried. I am going to continue doing the 3 coats in total. That was the first coat. I'm going to now move on to the second coat and do the second coat. Hopefully it just gets a little thicker in that area. I really don't care. It's gonna look the way it's gonna look. I mean, the car is gonna get abused anyway, so I'm not too worried about it. But guys, let's jump into the second coat, and I'm gonna also do a third coat right after. I'm gonna give it maybe about 5 minutes flash time, and then go ahead and do the third coat. So guys, I'm gonna put you guys on the stand, and let's jump into it so we can get into this front end rebuild. Folks, we are back in the garage. So I did put all the parts that we did paint inside the garage just so they can dry. It's been about an hour or so. So let's take a look exactly on how these things came out. This is that SEM black trim paint. Came out of a can. It looks phenomenal, guys. Check this out. I'm going to get a little bit more depth into it. As you guys can see, this stuff came out nice, flat, with a nice good sheen to it, and it's black. The next up is going to be the 4Runner brake cylinder, I guess, and the reservoir here, but I did go ahead and paint this that same SEM trim. I love the way this thing came out. The clutch reservoir, and this came out phenomenal. Like I cannot complain. Like this came out perfect. Right here we have the brake booster. The thing is with this, I did jack it up. I don't know if you guys can tell right here. This has a little like weird run to it, and this has a little weird run to it. Not intentional. Obviously I touched this by mistake, and I tried to wet my finger and try to kind of smooth it out a little bit. That did not work. Don't ever do that again. But for the most part, everything came out nice and smooth, as you guys can tell. Check out this smoothness. I'm happy with it. So all these, we're gonna take some time and put all these on and install them so we can get this wire harness on and tightened up inside this frunk. So guys, let's jump into it and let's go. Up and get ready for part 3 of this, because part 3 is going to be probably the best one, because we're going to try to do the most completion of the front end as we can in that episode. But guys, look at how this looks. This looks phenomenal. I am super excited and super happy with how this looks. We're going to plug that hole up with all the parts that we took out from it. So we have the vacuum plug here along with the rubber grommet. So we're going to go ahead and toss this rubber grommet inside there, just like so. Kind of squeeze it in, and it looks good. It looks really good. I'm gonna wipe it down because a little ugly grommet inside a nice clean brake booster kind of annoys me, but check it out. It looks good. We're gonna pop this bad boy back up in here. There we go. And we're back in motion, y'all. Check that out. That looks so good. That looks so good. So let's jump into this wire harness, guys. So let's go. All right, everybody, for anybody that's joining us right now, so what I've done so far to this MR2, this has been a 2-part series. So if you guys have not checked it out, please do go to the last episode I had and check that out. But check it out what we've done so far. We've added the brake booster after painting it. We've added the new 4Runner brake master, and then we have a brand new painted clutch master as well. Everything has been painted with this SEM trim black paint, and it looks phenomenal. It looks really OEM. I did start plugging up the harness, or not plugging it up, but like bolting it to the firewall. So that's coming out pretty good. It's really bothering me that this looks like this versus looking brand new, just because everything else looks good and this looks like crap. But I figured once I power wash it, everything would look good. Same goes for this stuff, but I'm not too worried about it. What we're gonna do is start feeding the harness in through the headlight section. So we're gonna start moving all this part of the harness right out here and start finding out where it goes. I might save that for the third part, just because I still have to put the radiator and a couple other things in, so I'm not too worried about it at the moment. But we're gonna start feeding this right through and start bolting things on. Like this ground needs to be bolted up here, so we're gonna do all that stuff right now. Let's get this going, guys, and finish up this episode. Let's go. Everybody, I want to conclude today's episode, but first and foremost, what I do want to do is thank all my subscribers. Thank you guys for watching, and thank you for hanging on. I know the videos haven't been completely consistent, but with the information and the special news that I gave you guys in the last episode, you guys can cut me some slack and understand where I'm coming from. But guys, I got some stuff done today. We got most of the reassembly to the front end back together again. I'm super excited just because it is starting to look good now. It's starting to get put back together, so it kind of helps me a little bit with the motivation. Sometimes I lose the motivation with how busy I am in my normal life. But guys, thank you again for watching, and you guys don't know what it means to me for you guys to be hanging on and going through this journey with me on this MR2. This MR2 has been a thing for me for many years, and it's not going anywhere, guys. So we're gonna finish this build. We're gonna make sure it looks great. We're gonna make sure it runs phenomenal. We're gonna make sure it's a kick-ass build. So guys, again, like I said, remember, like, share, subscribe, and check out the Nasty Addiction merch store, guys. You guys have not bought any t-shirts. Why? Because I can tell. So just go ahead and buy some t-shirts, support the channel. Make sure you put on your bell notifications to know all of the new videos that I do post, which we will be having many. This is a whole front end reassembly series, so guys, there's many more to come. We have a lot more to do on this MR2, guys, so let's go. Peace, take care of yourselves and each other, guys. So
separate facts from the fiction. Live hood, see what's under your engine. Anywho we in, and we flexing. Drop fast, got a nasty addiction. Separate facts from the fiction.